So reports are coming out that Trump might declassify all of the information on Carter Page's FISA warrant and all the documents related to Bruce Orr, who was the person at the DOJ that was back channeling to the foreign spy that was coming up with the Steele dossier and others. I think this is great news, though there is a little caveat, which I'll get to at the end, with something that upsets me a little about it. But the American people have the right to see these documents. It's funny that the DOJ and the FBI have been fighting tooth and nail to stop any of this from being released. I'll never forget, the FBI has continually said over and over, they'll black things out, redact them, and say, oh, we can't leave the American people say that, or lives would be at risk, sources would be revealed, and people could possibly die. Then when we fight and see the redactions that they had and see what they actually were, it's things like, oh, we paid $50,000 for a table in our office. Now, who possibly could have died? Every single time, they said this about the Nunez memo. If we would release this information in this memo unredacted, lives and sources wouldn't be endangered. It was an absolute fabricated lie. But we have to believe them again and again. Oh, well, we can't see this because it would be bad for the FBI. Yeah, it would be bad for the FBI in that it shows their corruption or incompetence. And the American people have a right to say that, particularly in a case like this. Keep in mind what happened here. We are talking about the FBI and people at the DOJ like Bruce Orr working under Obama, targeting basically Obama's opponent for presidential election. Now, granted, Obama wasn't running, but his party and who he wanted to win, Hillary Clinton, was the opponent. And not only were they targeting Trump's campaign, a campaign for presidency, but they were using research bought and paid for by his opponent, Hillary Clinton, that was basically sourced from Russians, the very thing they're accusing Trump of. So there's a lot of shadiness, particularly we see with the text messages that come out, how these FBI agents hated Trump. We see now it's absolutely proven without a doubt how people like Comey, who headed the FBI at the time, how Clapper, who headed the NSA at the time, and how Brennan, who headed the CIA at the time, all three despised Trump. We know this. They get paid as two of them get paid as television pundits to go out and bash Trump at any given chance now. We know that there's probably a good chance that Brennan and Clapper were leaking information, particularly Brennan, about the dossier to CNN to give CNN the justification for running the story about the dossier. Now, it all sounds very confusing, but this is what, take Trump or these characters out of it for a minute. There should be a very high threshold for the FBI to be spying and wiretapping people connected to a candidate for president, period. I don't care. I'm not a Hillary fan. If they did this to Hillary, I would be equally outraged. We shouldn't have unelected officials be determining who wins an election by meddling and choosing to just go hard and spy after one side as opposed to the other. It is ridiculous. Now, I'm not saying that it should never happen, but the threshold should be incredibly high. There should have to be proof beyond a shadow of a doubt, basically, that someone is trying to commit treason or conspiring with a foreign enemy or something to that effect. And we see that that's basically what they claimed Carter Page was doing, that he was an agent for Russia. Yet they haven't charged him. We see no proof of it whatsoever, even after 2 years. Instead, they're going after process crimes and financial crimes that occurred 10 years ago, 8 years before Trump ever decided to run for president. So I think the American people should see what's in these documents. And if you don't like Trump, I still think you should want to see what's on these documents. You would then surely be saying, see, it proves that nothing went shady with the FBI. Though I'm not naive. I know what will happen. People on my side, no matter what's released, will say it's damning. People that hate Trump will say no matter what that the FBI was excused in doing what they do. But still, I think it's better for the American people to be able to see this evidence and make their own decision. Now, there is one little caveat that I don't like what's going on. I've said this for like months. I didn't understand why Trump didn't declassify this months ago. Now, I know, look for this in the future. People will say, oh, this is further proof of obstruction. It's hilarious because the very people that keep shouting about obstruction have been saying for months, well, if there's something damning, why doesn't Trump just declassify it? But that's what they do, right? They say Trump has the authority to do something, and the fact that he won't do it proves that nothing shady is going on. But then as soon as he does it, they'll shout, aha, this is obstruction of justice. Just like Trump had the authority to fire James Comey. In fact, it was recommended by Rod Rosenstein. Yet now we have an investigation into Trump obstructing justice by doing what he's allowed to do. He fired James Comey under the recommendation of Rod Rosenstein. Now he's being investigated for obstruction. So look for Democrats to come out and say, if Trump releases this, this is obstruction of justice. Now, back to the one part I don't really like. The fact that he didn't do this months ago, I knew in the back of my head what was going on. I do believe, and I could be proven wrong, but I believe these documents will show that there was a lot of shadiness, either incompetence or I would feel corruption. The reason I say corruption over incompetence is because we see this pattern over and over and over again. They softballed Hillary. They're sending texts that prove that they're biased and they like Hillary and hate Trump. Everyone in Hillary's campaign is basically given immunity for no reason. They lie to the FBI, but they aren't charged. They don't register as foreign lobbyists, but they're not charged. And then the exact same crimes are charged on Trump's team, and they're spying on Trump, and they're wiretapping people that were once in his campaign and things of that nature. We just see every single instance that it seems like they favored Hillary and the Democrats over Trump. And so I do think that in my mind, it would, if this shows evidence of something, I don't think incompetence is going to cut it. I think it would be corruption. But nonetheless, it should frighten us either way if it's incompetence or corruption. But I think that because of I understand that people will differ when it comes out, but I think that Trump has strategically waited so that this would have more of an impact on the midterms. And I don't like that. Now, keep in mind, I'm someone who's a Trump supporter saying this to you, but I'm more concerned with like ferreting out corruption on any side and making sure that our election systems are as fair as can be, and that we don't have the intel agencies operating as partisan tools to decide, like being kingmakers, who should be president or who should get elected or not. So the fact that even if Trump releasing this, I think is overall a good thing. I don't like the fact that he's doing it for political considerations. To me, this should have been released long ago. Damn the people that would say this is obstruction. I don't think Trump should worry about that. Look, he has to realize no matter what he does, if he has 2 scoops of ice cream, these people are going to say that somehow proves treason and he should be impeached. So no matter what he does, these same people are going to scream. So he might as well have released it long ago. Let the American people make up their own mind. So if this was done, which I believe it is, it's being talked about being released now for political calculations. I think that's a mistake, even if it does end up helping Trump and the Republicans, because I don't care about getting political points. I care about ferreting out this corruption. But nonetheless, this is something I'll be looking forward to reading. I think every American should be reading this. Don't listen to people like me, and certainly don't listen to people like the mainstream media to make up your mind. Read these documents, right, as much as you can. I know a lot of people don't have time to go through it, but people are going to spin it. Just read and see what you think about them. But I'll be interested to read, and I think everyone should be concerned if there was corruption at the FBI or with Bruce or the DOJ. And we're talking about spying on someone that allowed them to have access to a presidential campaign. Remember, Nixon had 2 people go try to bug. Nixon's campaign had 2 people try to bug people in the Watergate Hotel, and that was enough to get him impeached. That was one of the biggest scandals in U.S. politics and history. So we're not talking about 2 bumbling fools trying to spy on someone. We're talking about the entire intelligence agency being weaponized against a campaign for president. This is a huge deal. This has more of an impact than anything Russia could ever did, even if Russia was colluding with Trump. Because not only are the intel agencies so powerful that they could legally spy on any American even, but they have such more power than anything Russia could do, because they are the investigators themselves. Who watches the watchmen, right? If the investigators are corrupt, what faith can we ever have? Now we have an agency that has nearly unlimited power that could, the precedent's been set that they could spy on any presidential campaign. We even have Chuck Schumer coming out saying, yeah, Trump shouldn't criticize the intel agencies because they'll get back at you 6 ways from Sunday. It just shows that if all of this is true, if the intel agencies are capable of doing this, that it's a crime that every American should be worried about, regardless if you like Trump or not, because inevitably it will be used against someone on the other side.